Hi everyone, it's Serena here from Spin and Dye in Texas, and today we are going on another fiber journey, and this one is going to be, can we make a blending board for under 50 bucks? 50 bucks. So what I have for today's project is going to be kind of interesting, but before we get to that, let's talk blending boards. If you're unfamiliar with blending boards are used to blend rolags, which are long, almost tubes of fiber that can be spun into yarn. They might also be felted. Blending boards tend to be fairly expensive, and as I've mentioned before, the artistry and craftsmanship that goes into creating the handmade fiber accessories that exist out on the market right now is incredible. They're absolutely worth the value. Their value is absolutely worth the cost, because not only are you getting something that's very functional for the craft that we all love, but on top of that, they're very well made. However, they're not always budget friendly. If you live in an area where you don't have access to a local yarn store and things like that, you're having to order online, sight unseen, and that can be an issue for people even if you know you're going to love it. However, the other problem tends to be, I don't want to spend a lot of money on something that I don't know I'm going to like. So people tend to avoid blending boards. What we're going to do today is try making our own for a cheaper cost and see if we like it. If you like it, great. You can always invest in a different one, a bigger one, a better one, whatever it is. And if you don't like it, you're out $50 instead of $100 or more. And you got to learn how to make something in the process. Now, one last thing that I'm going to say before we get too deep into the weeds here is I know nothing about woodworking. I know how to use my sander, which I have right here. I know how to have Home Depot cut wood for me, and I know how to use stain. So hopefully that's all we're going to need. But in no way am I a carpentry expert or anything like that. I just got the idea when I saw some wool cloth on Amazon and kind of just went from there. Speaking of which, the wool cloth that I'm using came pre-cut. I don't know if you can buy this in like a large bulk. I've always seen it cut to a specific size prior to receipt. So you might be able to buy it in bulk, I'm not sure. But the one that I have is 9.8 by 9.8. It is a square. It was ordered, as I mentioned, on Amazon. The teeth, which I'm hoping is getting picked up on the camera. We'll see. It may be, it may not be, I don't know. But if this is where the bottom of my hand is, the teeth are about half an inch tall. And that is important because that's going to tell you how much fiber you can load onto the cloth when you're ready to use it. The lower or shorter the teeth are, the less fiber is going to fit in there. These are pretty deep teeth. I think we'll be able to get a decent amount of fiber on them. This, like I said, I ordered it from Amazon and it was $20, I believe. And it also came with 2 dowel rods for when we're ready to actually make the rolags. Then I went to Home Depot. They had some oak boards there. The board was 3 feet, I believe. Yeah, it was 3 feet long, 12 inches wide. I had them cut it down for me. There's no cost for them to do that if you're not somebody who goes to Home Depot a lot. So I had them cut it to a 12 by 14, and because I know that I am not much of a woodworker, I had them cut too, so we have a backup. I will probably start with this one because I do think it has some interesting little pieces on it that could make for a pretty final piece. I have a foam roller to put the stain on with. I will also need to grab a soft cloth when we get to that point so I can wipe away the extra stain. The stain that I chose is, wasn't that attractive? All right, the stain that I chose is a dark walnut. I do tend to like my woods to be a little bit darker than the oak is here. So I got a dark one. You could go with anything. Doesn't make a difference. I will say we are going to have to sand this down really well. We're going to be using fiber, hopefully some nice fine Angora fiber from Nibbler. So because of that, we want to make sure this is really smooth. The edges are really smooth so that we're not going to be catching fibers on there as often to where it's going to damage the projects that we're working on. I do have, sorry, I'm kind of sitting at this table that makes me feel like a little kid. But if I stand up, my head gets cut off. So this was the compromise we had to make. So I do have a palm sander. It's a Ryobi, it plugs into the wall. Nothing fancy. I have sandpaper at 120 grit, 60 grit, 240 grit, a polisher. I think 240 is the highest. Yeah, that's 60. 240. So I've also recently learned, in case you don't know, and this will tell you how carpentry inclined I am, the higher the number, the finer the grit. So my 240 is going to be the highest number grit that I have in here. Might have some in the garage that I'll check for in a minute. But we'll probably start with the 60, then go to 120, then go to 240. The other thing I'm going to try and do, I do not have any wood cutting tools, but these corners are very sharp, so I am going to try and just round them off a little bit. Now, I don't have any wood cutting tools. I don't intend to go buy wood cutting tools, so all we're going to do is just kind of dull the edges with the sander and see what that does. So I'm going to pause, reset the camera so that you can see, and we'll start out by sanding. I'm going to put away the other stuff so it doesn't get sawdust all over it. Now, I am working outside. We are still having a very mild Texas summer, which means that today it's only going to be 98 degrees. I'm so excited. But because of that, I'm not going to worry about a mask. However, if you are working in an enclosed area, or of course if you have any other concerns about it, a mask would be absolutely appropriate in this circumstance. I just don't think it's required given where I'm working. Same goes for when we're applying the stain, same idea. Okay, so let's pause, go grab yourself a drink, and we'll get settled in and get this going. Okay, so we are back, and I have my sander plugged in and ready to go. I have the 60 grit on there. I did also forget to mention my sander has a dust collection bag too, so I'm not going to have dust flying everywhere. With that being said though, I imagine that the sound of the sander is going to rank up there with somebody clanking metal on a video. So I will probably mute while I'm sanding, so you're not going to have to suffer through all of that ridiculous sound. I will bring the sound back up if I have to talk, and I will also kind of do a motion so that you know when I'm switching out. Well, you won't be able to not tell that I'm switching out my grit. But this wood is already kind of smooth. It is completely untreated. I made sure of that when I purchased it because Home Depot does have a lot of pressure treated wood, and those are meant for outside, and they are going to have a lot of cancer causing chemicals in them. And that's not me being woo woo. That's what the guy at Home Depot told me. So we are going to go with an untreated wood here, and I'm going to start by just sanding this down. I want it to get that nice soft feeling that finely sanded wood has. So we'll start with the 60. We'll go from there. I am going to sand both sides as well as all 4 edges and the corners. So this could take a while, but let's go ahead and get started. All right, and I am already stopping because I am finding that on this plastic table, the wood is sliding back and forth. So I'm gonna go grab a towel. I also forgot to bring a soft cloth out to wipe it down in between passes with the sander. So I will be right back and we'll get this going. All right, so we're back. Sorry about that. You can see the towel that I'm using is got bleach stains and stuff on it. This is not a towel that I will ever use on my body, so I don't have to worry about exfoliating with wood with sawdust. So we're gonna go ahead and keep going, and I will check back in a few. All right, I'm gonna stop again real quick just to share that I have rounded my first corner. Wait, there it is. And I'm trying to see if I can get it on the camera so you can see. All I did was just round it off. It's just not pointy anymore. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's probably what I'm gonna do with all 4 of them. So I'm gonna keep going. All right, so we're gonna stop there. I have done 60 grit on the whole board, and I do like the way that the rounded corners came out. I also used my sander just along the edge of the side that I'm going to be putting the cloth on, because I wanted to just soften up those sharp corners just a hair, so that I wasn't constantly stabbing myself. So I think it worked out really nice. It looks good. We're gonna move on to the 120 grit. This might be loud, sorry. While I switch these out. Oh, come on, it's going on there, hang on. All right, so I love these because they do have like felt on the back that will stick to the Velcro. So we are gonna keep going now on 120, and I will do the whole board, both sides. Oh, by the way, the choice that I made, the decision to use this side for the cloth, is because of this little flaw in the wood right here. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it is a deep groove that was natural to the wood. It wasn't damage that was done at Home Depot or anywhere else, but because of that, I didn't want to have to fill that with a bunch of stain and wood glue and all of those kind of things, or wood filler, and I just decided I'll put the cloth over that. And then on the back here, this real pretty, I can't remember what that's called, burl maybe, I don't know, don't quote me on that, but I like the way this looks. I think it'll look real pretty once the stain is added. So I'm gonna keep going. 120 grit, here we go. All right, so I am done with the 120. I'm gonna wipe this down just to pull off any of that loose dust so we can move on to the 240. I have rounded off the corners on both, or the edges and the corners on both sides, because I realized that one side will have to be lying flat against a surface or against my legs, and that would be unpleasant if it was those sharp edges. So we are going to switch over now to the 240 and keep on going here. Now this will be the last one that I have available right now, and we'll see how it goes. It is feeling very smooth. I have an idea for testing out smoothness once we're done, and so we'll go for it. We will do that after this step and go from there. All right, here we go. All right, so I think we are done. It's a nice, smooth finish. It almost feels like it's already been stained and sealed. That's how smooth it feels with just the 240. So looks like that's going to be plenty of grip for our needs today. But we're going to test it out. I had an idea. So these cloths that I'm using, they're like baby washcloths. And so it's a very soft, kind of fuzzy microfiber. So I thought I would take this one that's not covered in too much sawdust yet, take the other side and just see if it snags on anything. So I did see one little snag so far. And I can feel one little snag, so right along this row here. And I don't know if it's translating on the camera, but when it catches, and I'm really happy that it worked, to be honest with you. But let me see if I can find that spot again. Right here. Keep watching right here. Let's see if we can catch it again, where it's just pulling a little bit. Something sticking up there, something I can't see, something I can't even really feel. My hand is kind of vibrating from using the sander, so that might be preventing anything. But we're gonna go ahead and go over that again. Oh, by the way, I am trying to go with the grain. I'm terrible about sticking to it because I wanna like do this motion. Don't ask me why. I guess maybe I see it on TV that way. But anyway, I think you're supposed to just go with the grain. So again, this is what YouTube is for, so please feel free to go to somebody who is more versed than me in carpentry to confirm that, but I believe that you do need to go with the grain. So we're going to go straight up and just kind of catch this whole area, because I had a couple little spaces that were pulling on that washcloth. All right, and it actually does feel a little bit smoother. Let's see. I'm not seeing it catch. All right, I think we're good. Let's try the other side. We're gonna do the same thing. Wipe it down one more time. So one little catch along the edge right here-ish. Okay. All right, so this side is looking pretty good. I'm just gonna sand right along here just to make sure that there's not some minor imperfection that I'm not seeing. All right. Okay, so don't know if you can hear that, but it's a very satisfying sound. My hands are covered in sawdust, but I am going to take this rag. I'm going to get it damp real quick in my hose off to the side here, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this, you can see it's not dripping wet, it's just barely damp, and I'm just going to use that to wipe this wood down one more time. And then we're going to leave it for about 15 minutes to make sure that it dries. Depending on where you are and the humidity level and all of that, you may need to leave it longer. But it is pretty dry here today, shockingly, and also very warm. So I think it's probably like around 85 right now at 10 o'clock in the morning. Welcome to Texas. So because of that, I'm not too worried about it taking long to dry. I am going to, so I've wiped it off. You can see it is still nice and smooth. I'm going to pull these aside, pull this aside. We are going to do TV quick change. Haha. Flip that over just like that, so that I can leave this on here to dry while I go take care of some stuff, and then I'll come back and we will start staining it. So looking good so far, I'm pretty happy. All right, we'll see you in a few. All right, so it's been a few minutes. Everything feels dry. It does not feel dusty any longer, so that's good. That means that it is ready to be stained. I have my stain here. I do believe it says to shake. Yeah, it says stir the contents. We're gonna shake the contents. I know, I'm gonna put air bubbles in there, but it'll be fine. I'm going to pour it into this lid. It was from some Thai food that we ordered a while ago. I hate throwing those to-go containers away that can be used, but over time, the container has gotten lost and all that I had left in the cupboard was a lid, so I figured that would be the perfect thing to use. I could not find my paint can opener, and so I am going to use this stake, and hopefully it will work. Let's see. Will it work? It will not work. Oh no! Oh no! All right, hang on. Be right back. See you in a minute. All right, I'm back. I've got a flathead screwdriver that I'm going to use. Oddly enough, this flathead screwdriver is completely chewed up on the end there. I don't know if you can see it, but I promise you it is. And it looks like an animal got to it, but it was actually me. I did not chew on it, I promise. I used it as a hammer and hammered in some nails for when I was hanging some pictures. And I think it happened like 3 years ago. My husband still laughs at me about it because he says that that's just proof that I was never meant to be a carpenter. Which, oh, well, that worked out well. Is extra funny because my grandfather was. He was a very good carpenter. I have lots of things that he made. He had some incredible tools, and I used to go sit in his little workshop that he had in the basement and watch him use all of his machines and everything. I thought it was so cool, and I wish I would have gotten the opportunity for him to show me what it was that he did. I think that would have been really fun, but we didn't live in the same place for most of my life, and unfortunately, as happens when we get older, he has passed away. So, but anytime I work with wood, I think of my Grandpa Joel and just the way his house smelled. So, all right, so I'm just using the roller to apply it. I wasn't sure what the best method for applying the stain would be. So again, I relied greatly on the very kind folks at Home Depot, and they told me that for stain, foam is just fine since you have to wipe it away anyway. It does seem to be going on very well. I'm not sure if you can see the shine that's coming out from that stain, but it really is very pretty. So just a reminder, this is the side that we will be adhering the cloth to. And it is called cloth even though it has giant metal nails in it. It is referred to as cloth. So we will be putting the cloth on this side. So it is important that we get full coverage of the stain, but the center portion is not going to be visible. So I'm not super worried about it. We just want to make sure that there is coverage. Okay, so I'm going to let that soak up for a minute. And then what I will probably do is I will do this side and maybe the edges, and then let it sit for, in the heat, an hour, 2 hours, and then I'll come back, flip it over, and do the other side. Just because I don't think in Texas the stain is going to take that long to get absorbed into the wood, and then I can prop it up on something to let it dry for you know, overnight or something like that, which we don't have any rain in the forecast right now, so it should be fine to leave out even overnight. The only thing we got to worry about is probably bugs and flies. They've been terrible this year. I think we'll be okay. The stain does have a smell to it. I'm glad I'm doing this outside. I have stained things before. Funny story. I went to a garage sale one time, this is a few years back now, and they had this stand that was made out of really light wood, like balsa wood, and it has a door that would drop down, and it has a support beam that comes out, and you can bring it out and then you widen it to be like almost like a little desk. It's very narrow, perfect for putting in a corner or up against a wall. Anyway, I saw it there and I asked them, you know, how much do you want for this? And they were like, oh, we keep plants on it, it's gonna be $5, no big deal. And I said, oh, I'm not keeping plants on it, I'm going to stain it and put it in my house. And guy thought I was crazy. He said, no, this is cheap wood, it's not meant for your home, leave it outside. And I was like, no, I think it'll be fine. So took it home, stained it, or sanded it first, then stained it. It has traveled across the country with us now twice. Everyone who comes in is like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, where did you get that, blah 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 blah. And yeah, it was my big $5 find. I'm still proud of it to this day, and I think I did it like 10 years ago. Okay, so the roller is not working so hot on the ends. It's not terrible, but there's probably a better method I could be using. But we'll just do that. All right, so I just came up with my plan. I'm gonna do 2 sides, and then I'll do one more layer on the top, go back, do the sides again, and then we'll let it sit, and I'll do the other 2 sides when I do the back of the wood, so that way I'm never putting it down on any wet side. Okay, so rolling, get it on there. All right, so let that absorb. Come back to the front here. We're gonna put another, I do love this color. I love a nice dark wood. So I'm gonna put a little bit more on. I don't know with stain if you just go with the grain, probably says on the jar that I just made very messy, but I'm gonna just go with the grain. I need to kind of like how that's looking. All right, and it does look to be just bubbling and kind of sitting on the top and not absorbing as much now. So I'll let that sit for a minute. Come over to the side, roll on. Oh, stick my finger in it. There we go. And the other side as well. Okay, set this down. Interestingly, I use stain as an an explanation for how dyeing yarn works, because when you are adding color to wood, you can do it one of two ways. Well, technically one of three ways. You can use the natural color of the wood, and then let it weather naturally in the sun and the elements. You can use paint, which sits on top, and you can use stain, which gets absorbed into the wood and stains it down to a specific layer. When we're dyeing yarn, what we're using is what we're doing, the method that we're using, is closer to stain than it is to paint. Paint just sits on top. Paint can be peeled away, paint can be chipped. I don't know if you can see behind me, but my deck is painted. The paint gets chipped away and weathered away over time. Stain doesn't really do that. It gets absorbed into the wood. It sits thicker in the wood, or deeper, I'm sorry, not thicker, deeper into the wood than just sitting on top. And as a result, it's kind of more permanent. It's lighter in color when we're talking about wood. I've never seen a stain that was 100% opaque, but it's more permanent because it sits at level 2, level 3 of the wood. I might have just made up the level part, but you get my point. You get the gist. So it's a great way to explain the difference between staining between dyeing yarn and just making marks on yarn, which with fabric we call staining, but it's really just kind of a paint, something that's going to sit on top, come off when it gets washed, that kind of thing. So I've got this in there. Gonna let it absorb again. I wiped off the top and noticed quite a bit was still sitting up there. So we're gonna give it just another minute to absorb this new layer that I added. And then we'll go from there. I'm really excited if this works. I will be so happy because I did have a drum carder at one time. I got it, I want to say like 2019, right before the pandemic, but I didn't like using it. I got the Brother drum carder, highly recommend it, works great, decent price point. And it had real thick, deep teeth, like 1.5 inches, I want to say it was. And so you could make these real thick bats to spin from. But I didn't really like spinning the bats, and the blending was a little bit tougher for me in a drum carder. I think blending on a blending board will be a lot more my speed, and so I've wanted to get one for a while, but I haven't pulled the trigger because I was a little jaded from the incident with the drum carder. So I haven't pulled the trigger on a blending board, but when I saw the cloth on Amazon, I was like, oh my gosh, I can try making one on my own. And we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so this is sat for another minute, and I keep putzing with it, which I probably shouldn't, but oh well. All right, let's see. Do we like that color? Does it feel a little streaky? What do you think? Let's see, how does it look on the camera? Because I can see my camera from my watch, which is just, you know, technology is awesome. All right, let's see. It does look a little streaky, doesn't it? All right, we're gonna try I'm going to try leaving this exactly how it is, adding some stain here and up here, and then we're going to let it be. And I'm going to stop messing with it, and we are going to see what happens. So I'm just going to grab what's left in this tray here. This tray did do a great job for what I needed. All right. So I'm avoiding this darker section and this darker section, and we're just going to put everywhere else. So right up to that line there. Don't mind it being light in the center there. I feel like that matches what the unstained wood looked like. It was a little bit lighter on that streak, so I think that's fine. Add just a touch up here. Okay. All right, I think I like that a little bit better. So we're gonna let that sit and absorb, and let's see what this says. It says, there we go. Apply the stain across the grain until the wood is saturated. Wipe the excess stain in the direction of the wood grain. Do not let the stain dry before wiping excess, and then you can apply a second coat. Okay, well, in 2 hours we can apply a second coat. So, we're not letting anything dry. Do we add more? It said apply liberally. Have we applied liberally? I don't know. All right, we'll put some more on, why not? Also, the stain was not super expensive. I don't think I mentioned it at the beginning, but everything that I got from Home Depot, which was more than enough for this project because I have enough wood for 3, and stain that should, unless I keep putting it on liberally, stain that should be enough for multiple projects. I'm hoping so, because I have another project that I want to do. And I got some finishing nails for when we apply the cloth. So with all of that combined, I want to say it was like $35 maybe. So divide by 3, because we figure we have at least enough for 3 different blending boards if we wanted to, and that brings it to $20 for the cloth. So far this project has cost us $30, and I'm happy with where we're at. We'll see where we're at in a couple hours. I am going to let that stain absorb. I keep wanting to say die. But we're gonna let the stain absorb a little bit here. So I'm gonna give it, let's say, a minute, maybe 2. And then I will wipe away the excess because we don't wanna let it dry. It says it can take 2 hours before you can put on the next coat, but I doubt it's 2 hours before that top layer will dry. So we'll give it a minute. I'm gonna put this lid back on and see. Who needs a hammer? All right. Ooh, I should go get that tiny mallet that I have. I'll get that in a minute. Anyway, once I wipe this off, like I said, we're gonna stick to the original plan. I will leave it out here. We'll give it the full 2 hours that is recommended by the jar and the kind people at Varathane. And then I will come back out and stain the other side and the other 2 edges that I have not stained yet. They have gotten a little bit of drips on them. I hope that doesn't affect the final look. Are we at a minute? Yeah, we're at a minute. You know what? Varathane jar knows what it's talking about. I'm liking this look better. I think it needed that extra liberal coating of stain, because look at that. I'm liking the look. And considering the fact that this part will not be visible, yeah. See, is it coming up on the, yeah, it's in there. All right, so that's where we're at right now. We'll be back in a couple hours and we'll do the other side. All right, we're back. So it's been a little while. This is dry to the touch. I'm sure it still needs time to fully stain, but it's dry enough that I can flip this over and do the other side. Now, hope this isn't too loud on the camera, but in order to preserve what I had in the lid here that I was using, I just tied it into a plastic bag so it wouldn't dry out. And it looks like it did pretty well. I know stain doesn't dry the same way that paint does, so it may have been pointless, but oh well, didn't hurt anything, that's for sure. So we are going to do this side. You can see we had some drips happen. I don't think it will have a huge impact on the overall look, but we'll see. And we'll get those two sides that we hadn't worked originally. So I do have quite a bit of stain still in this foam roller. We're going to start with that, and then I can always add more. I have plenty in that that little jar there. I'm so glad I picked this color. Oh, the instructions said to go with the, or against the grain. I don't know, we'll try this. So remember, just a reminder, this is the side, not like you guys had to wait the 2 hours, but still, this is the side that will not have the cloth on it. It will be the back of our, it'll be the back of our blending board. So it is going to be the most visible. I want to have a nice even coat of the stain so that it'll give it a nice pretty look when I'm using it. All right, so gone that way. Let's go this way now. I am noticing some uneven color here. Wonder why that is. It is getting quite a bit hotter. What I'm probably going to do, just to kind of give you guys an idea of the timeline, is I will add the stain. Then I'm going to let this sit overnight upright so that both sides can dry completely. And then I will come back tomorrow, hopefully early in the morning. Tomorrow is a Saturday, so I am going to hope I wake up early enough to come out before the heat and the sun comes around the corner of my house here and shines down on here, because I think it'll make it really hard for you to see what I'm doing, and it'll definitely make it hard for me to do it with my eyes open and not closed and squinting into the sun. So that is kind of my timeline. Now, I've probably put about an hour's worth of active time into this project so far. And then the idle time of letting the stain dry. So just to give you, again, an idea of how long this is going to take you to do if you choose to do this at home. Let's let that sit for a second. Ooh, I like the way that's coming out. It looks pretty. I do think I messed up a little bit on my sanding because I can see some grooves in there that I think happened because I do that stupid spiral thing. I don't know why I do that, the little circles. I have no idea why, but I think I might have put a couple of little flaws. Oh, can you hear the trash man coming? A couple of little flaws in the wood itself. It's not going to upset me too much and upset this project too much, but it is worth noting, I think, that it turns out carpenters know what they're talking about. and I probably should have paid more attention to my work. But go in, put in a little bit more because it does seem to still be absorbing a lot. And I'm sure there is somebody watching this right now who does do woodwork and carpentry and is yelling at me for all the mistakes I'm making. I accept that I probably have made mistakes, and I encourage you to leave a kind but firm comment telling me how I can do better next time, because I'd love to know. So I'd also love to know if you try this at home, because I'm trying out a few different things with these videos to kind of do projects that I've had on my mind for a while, or questions that I get from people, how do I XYZ? And so I'll do some videos like that. But if there's something that you're like, man, I would love to see, or how do you, please let me know. And I will do my best to answer the questions for you. And honestly, even if I don't know the answer, don't worry. I'm not saying I'll make it up, but I would love to research those things that kind of become dark little shadows of what if and what does it mean and how do you and all of that kind of thing. So please drop a comment and I will be glad to see what we can do. All right, so you see my technique of holding my roller here. Probably looks a little weird, but I have a nice amount of control when I'm holding it in this awkward position. Okay. All right, I am liking, sorry, I was looking at the surface because the light's kind of shining on. I am liking it. Let's see, can you see? Yeah, you can see it. Kind of how it looks. Let's give that a minute. Then we will wipe it off and take a look and see if we want to put another coat on before we let it sit. Probably will not do the extra ones today. I may save some of that wood for another project that I'm trying to do for the animal shelter. Or I may make another one of these if it turns out really well. Just don't know yet. We're gonna have to wait and see. Now I am looking forward, sorry, I saw a little, looked like a flaw there. All right. I had blending on my mind when I saw the cloth online, because I'm hoping to do some blending work with my students this year, my spinning students. And so I was thinking blending boards, how are we gonna do it? I think we're gonna do it with hand carders at the school. But it kind of got me thinking, well, what kind of project could I do with my students if it's something that they enjoy doing and I decide to put it into my regular curriculum? What's something that we could do to add to our blending knowledge or our knowledge of fiber tools, which are the two things that I try to kind of impart on my students. High school is a little hard of a time. I don't know if we all remember that. I know I do. But I think it's kind of a hard time, and not everyone is going to enjoy fiber arts, but especially not every teenager in the world is going to enjoy fiber arts, because it requires a certain amount of conversation and thoughts inward. I think that not all 16, 14-year-olds are interested in doing. It's just not fast-paced enough. But with that in mind, I do try to come up with projects and a curriculum that will at least impart knowledge on them that they can take with them through the rest of their life. Even if it's not their favorite subject, even if it's not their favorite craft that they're going to do at our school, they will walk away understanding how fabric is made, for instance, if we're weaving, how yarn is made, if we're spinning, or how to make a rug. How is it done when we're doing tufting? So if I can show them how a blending board is built, then I think that would also be super fun, and it would kind of directly speak to some of the students that may not get a lot out of the fiber itself. So I am putting another coat on because the stain seemed to be a little bit uneven in spots. So I'm just putting a little bit more stain on in those spots that felt a little bare to me. We'll let it sit for another minute and then we'll check it again. Wipe away the excess and see where we're at. I'm also going to check those edges and see how we're doing there. Edges actually are looking pretty good. Yeah, I think I'm happy with where the edges are. Actually, got some real nice staining around the grain on this side. I will do some close-up shots that I'll include in the final video, so you can get an idea of what this color looks like as well, in case you're wondering if this is the color that you want. Now, I did mention earlier I went with the dark walnut. I was gonna go with a cherry because that tends to be what the stain that I like to use when I'm staining wood, but I went with the walnut because it felt a little bit more fibery to me. I'm not sure why. I also thought it would look pretty good with the cloth on it, and the cherry might have looked a little odd. I don't know. I think the stain is a personal taste, but that's why I picked what I did. I also did, while we're waiting for this to soak in, I did have them intentionally cut the wood 2 inches bigger. Well, I got the 12-inch wide, so it was going to be 2 inches bigger, so 1 inch on each side. And then the length, I had them cut at 14 inches intentionally because I will probably center this a little bit lower. And then I'm hoping to put a handle at the top, but I haven't found the perfect plan for the handle yet. Hopefully I will by tomorrow when I come out and do this. Also, this does not have an adhesive back of any kind. So what I'm going to do is I will probably drop a little bit of wood glue down to give it a surface to adhere to, or a material to adhere to, and then you can see the edges have a pretty wide, I hope that's in frame, the edges have a pretty wide selvage, I don't know, on the end there. So I've got some finishing nails that I will put in probably about every 1/2 inch along each side, and I picked some copper colored ones and I thought they would look good with the walnut. So we'll do all of that part tomorrow. Well, tomorrow for me, it'll be like in 10 minutes for you, but let's see where we're at here. Okay, so we have some excess sitting on top. Let's wipe that away. Do I like it? Hang on, I'm looking. Give me just a minute here and I will show you as well. And yeah, I think I do like it. I think I do. It's a little uneven, I will be honest. But as I said at the beginning of the video, I do not pretend to be perfect or even well versed in doing this. I just know what I like. And I like it the way it is. So I am going to let this sit overnight. I'm going to find a way to prop it up a little bit so that there's decent airflow. And I'm just going to leave it on this towel here. And then I will come back tomorrow and we'll do the next step. I hope you're along for the ride so far. I hope you're learning a little something about blending boards and thinking how you can try this out for yourself. I will include the links to everything that I've used today in the description of this video, but you know, you could get, if you have another source for any of these materials, the only reason I picked these is because they were close to me, and with the wood stain, it's just the color that I liked. So I will see you guys tomorrow, and happy crafting. Hi everyone. So we're back. Our board has had a chance to dry overnight. It is nice and dry now. I left it outside. I don't have anything damp on it. Nothing seems to be leaking out. My hands are clean, and my edges are all rounded off slightly, so shouldn't have any problems with sharp edges. Now, today, the other thing that we're going to need is, of course, we need our cloth. We're going to need marker or pen, tape measure, real hammer, backup hammers in case of emergency, some finishing nails, and then I've decided I want to attach a handle. So what I did was I took one of my bands that I had woven on my ankle loom, and I gave it to my husband because he sews and I don't. And he stitched it down in half for me and secured the end. So I'm going to either set it on the edge here or I'm going to set it up like this. I might do it like that. We'll see. So to start, we are going to go ahead and lay our cloth down. Now, I am going to center it toward the bottom. I want it to be centered to right and left, but I'm going to bring it down to the bottom third of the board here. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to be able to attach the handle and make it look all cute. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is mark off where our nails go. Now, I will be honest with you, this is not my normal MO when it comes to doing work of any kind as a project. My normal MO is to kind of power through based on what I think I'm supposed to do. But since I'm hoping that other people will be able to use this as a guide, we're going to try and do it the right way today. So I want to put my finishing nails, which I did choose based on the color of the stain that I was using and kind of just what I like. I did pick these really nice copper nails that I thought would contrast beautifully with the stain. Okay, so I'm going to put the nails in. I'm thinking about every 1.5 inches maybe. This is a 9.8 by 9.8 square of wool cloth, and so if I do every 1.5 inches, that should give us enough nails to keep this secure, because I decided I'm not going to put any glue down on the bottom. No real reason for that decision, I guess, except that I wanted to make sure that these instructions had the least amount of additional purchases possible. And so now we don't have to buy any type of adhesive. So all I'm doing is I'm going and I'm making marks on my cloth, on the foam background of the cloth at every 1.5 inches on this side. And I'm just using a standard Sharpie here. I bet you could probably use a pen on this and it wouldn't be an issue at all. But I thought the marker would look a little bit nicer on camera, to be honest with you. And also I like holding the markers better. It just feels a little more secure in my hand. And I'm going to add one at the corner there, one at the corner here. And I'm going to go around. I'm going to do the same thing on all 3 remaining sides. And because we're not using the glue, I am going to make sure to put probably a couple extra nails than what I need. So the 1.5 inches should work really well for that. We don't have to do this while it's sitting on the board. But I figure it can't hurt anything to have it on the board. So that's what we're doing. Now I'm going to start from this side and work my way over. Now my corner nails, I'm going to try and keep about in the same place on each corner. just from an aesthetic, I think it will look nicer than if the corners aren't very even. I could be wrong. I'm not gonna lie, but that's what I like, so that's what I'm gonna do. Pretty much that's how I do all my crafting. All right, that side is done. Going to do the same thing here, starting at the corner, and then every 1.5 inches along the edge there. Stay straight, please. There. Now I will say I'm not doing the best at keeping my lines straight. Hopefully I can fix that as I start hammering. I was thinking about it, and I believe that I'm going to hammer, well, I don't believe, I know that I'm going to hammer each of the corners first, and then go in and put the nails in along the edge. And the reason for that is, I think it's self-explanatory, but just in case, because I feel like if I put in those corner nails first, I will be more likely to have secured the cloth enough to be able to put the other ones in without it shifting or bubbling or anything like that. So, all right, all my corners are marked off. It is kind of hot outside today, so we're going to try and do this a little quickly. Now, I will say one thing that I did notice on this cloth is I do have some of the teeth are a little bit bent out of shape. I don't think it's going to cause a problem when we blend, but I may have to trim some of those down if it does. For now, I'm not going to worry too much about it, and I'm going to just start by hammering at the corners. I have this nice little hammer. Well, hang on. Let me pound first, and then I'll talk. Turn this now this way. Well, that did not work out so well. The nail bent, and so now it's going to pose a hazard when, hang on, come on, there we go. Now it's going to pose a hazard when we are trying to blend. So I'm going to try that again. I am going to line up because the hole, I do like where the hole was. It just did not like my hammering as much as I liked its placement. All right, we're going to try this again. And you can see, like I said, I generally do this as a fly by the seat of my pants kind of DIY. So I did not measure this off. I just kind of like where it's placed on the board. And so that's what I'm going to go with. So we're going to try hammering again. There we go. That looks nice. All right. I'm going to do the other 4. And I am using a microphone today, so I don't know how the sound is coming out. But if it's too loud, I will go ahead and mute it down a little bit so as not to make any viewers go deaf. Those are going in nice. Okay, so you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I'm going to go ahead and hammer in these last 2 corners. Then I'm going to hammer along the sides. I will fast forward through that because I have a feeling it is going to get loud, and I really don't want you guys to go deaf. And so I will come back after I'm done, and we'll talk about how we're going to affix the handle and what we think so far. Oh, hang on. I'm sorry. I got distracted because I'm thinking. I turned the cloth while I was working, and I turned it the wrong way. So all of the teeth are now facing towards me, and they should probably be facing this way. Well, this is why. Actually, no, this is right. Because I will still fix the handle on this side, but when we're pulling the roll legs off, we'll want to be able to pull with a little bit of space down here. So that's going to work. Okay, I'm just panicking. That's also something that happens when you're a fly-by-night DIYer. So we will continue on, and I will see you guys in a minute. Okay? So I have the four corners in, and I have two thoughts and issues. Well, one thought, one issue. So, I'm sorry, it is really hot out today. Okay, so my thought is instead of using the finishing nails for all of them, because they are hard to get in, the edge here is not super wide, and I didn't factor in the width of the hammer itself, so it's kind of affecting the edge of the cloth. So I'm thinking I'm going to use my staple gun, so I got to go grab that. Other thing, and this is why, kids, it's important to plan. I don't know if they're showing up on camera, but my nails are too long anyway. So, number one, staples are going to be required. And number two, I'm going to have to get something to cover those corners, which actually is not that bad of a thing. I'm thinking I'm going to get a little piece of rubber, and that way it can lay on a table easily, and it'll be nice and stable. But I'm going to go ahead and run and grab my staple gun, and I will be back. All right, so I got my staple gun. It has some staples in it. I'm going to move these things away, and see, that was going to fit right along the edge. We're going to hope that it penetrates through. I've had some issues with this staple gun in the past, so I'm not holding it exactly to manufacturer's specifications, because you're supposed to hold it like this. I am going to hold that back in a little bit and just put in staple right there. Let's see if it works. Oh, that's not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, so I'm going to do another one here. Another one here. All right, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I only did 3 instead of doing the every 1.5 inches, because these are a little bit different than the nails that I had intended to use. And I think or just putting in 3 will be fine. But if you're going to stick with the nails because you know how to measure, unlike me, then you could do them every 1.5 inches still. Or if you're going to switch over to something closer to this method, you could still do them every 1.5 inches if you wanted to. I just think it would be overcrowded since they're like little hooks. All right, so going along to this side. Now this side is a little bit thicker on the edge. And it does seem to be working nicely. All right, so we've got 3 on each side. Now I am going to have to do some hammering. I will speed this up and mute it because I don't want to make anyone go deaf. But some of the nails didn't go all the way in, so I'm just going to pound them down so that they are flush. So we're all hammered in now. Last touch is going to be our handle. Sorry. All right, last touch is going to be the handle here. And I think I'm going to hang it this way. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I'm going to hang it like that, because then it can be tucked under when I'm pulling the roll legs off. And I'm going to use the nails, and I will add rubber on the back or bend the edges in. But just for the record, these are 1-inch nails. This is supposed to be 1-inch wood, obviously a little bit thinner than that. And so we've got some poking out from the other side. So I'm just going to hammer this. So, is it perfect? Well, I have nails sticking out the back of it, so no, it's not perfect. Is it as good as one of the ones that you could get from Ashford? No, no, it's not. It's not even close. Is it functional and will it work for my needs? Absolutely. Can I upgrade later? Yes. I genuinely am very happy with it. I will be honest. Even with the nails poking out of the back and the issues along the sides, I still really love it because it's something that I can take with me. It's a DIY option for having your own blending board, and it's going to serve the small blending needs that I have. I would say, and for the cost, it's not bad at all. If we add in the yarn and time that it took for me to do the handle piece, I think we're at around $40, give or take. And so I don't think that that's a bad price point for something that will absolutely last moving forward. Now, this cloth in particular, which will be linked in the description, and I'll link the wood and everything too, but that's kind of generic stuff from Home Depot. This is technically generic. Sorry, I keep touching my eyes. It's just hot out today. But I think it's a little bit more specialized, so I will have the link of that in there. It seems like it's going to be nice and solid for blending. I will do a video in the next couple weeks that shows me actually doing some blending on this board. But those end teeth are very exposed and weak. And that's not something that's uncommon for a blending board. Blending boards will generally have raw open edges like this. So it is a little bit disheartening that those edges couldn't take some, jostling and that kind of thing. But the center is nice and sturdy. So I think it's just because they don't have they're not surrounded by the other teeth to really give them some extra enforcement. So overall, I'm happy with what I have made here. I think it's going to be a useful project, and I will probably in the future try doing another one a little bit differently with the way the cloth is adhered and maybe a slightly different handle, but that would only be for aesthetic reasons. I think this handle is perfect, and it does kind of show off what I like to do, so I like that too. But I say give it a shot. Give it a shot, and then if you like it, you can always upgrade. You can always change, and if you find, hey, this works for me, but the size isn't right, you can always change that too. But this is a lot easier to tweak than something that you've invested a lot of money into. And that $40 price point, that includes the full piece of wood. I have enough to make two more blending boards if I wanted to. That includes all the nails that I have here, which we won't be using for another blending board, but I think it comes with, I think there's like 50 in here or something. I don't even know. But there's a bunch in there. So that $40 is not right at all. That's a way overinflated price. But yeah, so I say give it a try. This is going to be very functional. It's going to work well. It's going to store easily. I can hang it, which I like, and I just need to find some rubber to fix these little parts. Or maybe I can, well, you guys don't need to listen to that part. So overall, as long as you do your measurements, this is going to be a great way to be able to blend at home. All right, well, that is our project this week, and we're going to have a new one next week, so please
like, and subscribe so that you can find out what other fiber adventures I go on. And maybe fiber fails, I'll be honest, that's been known to happen. So come along on the journey with me, and I'll see you guys next week.